Wait. Haven't we already done this shit before? Psycho tells the story, once again, of a woman who steals a large sum of money, goes on the run, and ends up at the Bates Motel with the very strange and disturbed Norman Bates. Also, before I get going, Brian Lomax is also reviewing this film. His link is down below, so if you want a very different opinion of this film, check out his review and tell him I sent you. Well, we're finally here, everybody. The end of the Psycho review series. I've gotten a lot of questions. No, I'm not going to be reviewing Bates Motel. Don't have enough time to rewatch all of those seasons. I will just say that was a brilliant show. So if you're curious of my my thoughts on it, I loved it. But this is the end of the Psycho review series until we eventually get another one. Who knows how long that will be. But the 1998 Gus Van Sant Psycho remake. I have seen this movie twice. I saw it first in 1998. Don't kill me. It was actually the first Psycho movie I've ever seen. I was only 8 years old, so I had no idea what the hell Psycho was. It was just this movie my dad popped in. I was like, this seems like a really cool story and a really shitty movie. But rewatched it a couple weeks ago in preparation for this review for the second time in my life. So usually in these review series, especially in these horror franchises that I've been doing over the past couple of years, the remake spot tends to be where I get the most controversial because I'm somebody that there's a lot of remakes that I genuinely love. And there's a lot of remakes that I think actually surpass the original that, you know, true fans think I'm off my fucking rocker for saying that. Well, if you were nervous about that happening here, it's not. So, the Psycho remake, this is the weird thing about watching this film. It is quite literally a shot-for-shot remake of the 1960 original. People throw around that term, shot-for-shot remake, pretty loosely. There's a lot of movies out there, like Let Me In is a good example, where they definitely recreate some shots, but it's not shot-for-shot. It's not literally cut and paste the exact same movie with a different cast. This movie is exactly that. Literally every scene, damn near, I mean maybe 98% at least of the 1960 Alfred Hitchcock Psycho is recreated with Gus Van Sant, Norman Bates played by Vince Vaughn, and you got Anne Heche stepping into the role of Marion Crane. And quite frankly, you have one hand of the argument that says, well, if the original movie's great and it's a classic and this is the exact same thing over again, can you really say it's a bad movie? And on the other hand of the argument, you have, what the fuck is the point of making a shot-for-shot remake of anything, let alone a classic like Hitchcock's Psycho that really can't be improved upon? And that is the debate that I will be trying to at least poke my stance into during this review. So starting right off with the positives for the 1998 Psycho. Yes, this is still the same story overall, so by default I have to give it credit for telling a good overall story, even though it's completely templated, even though it came before, even though I will never watch this version of the story before I will watch the 1960 original. You have to give a small, like 0.001% of credit to the fact that this movie does have that original templated story, which in and of itself is a good story. As far as acting, I will say, I do like a couple of performances in this, and they are slightly different than the performances that we got in 1960. The main one is Julianne Moore as Marion Crane's sister. I might get in trouble for saying this, but I actually prefer Julianne Moore's version of this character to the one that we got in 1960. If you watch my review for the original Psycho, I say that the back half of the film, when we follow the fiance and the sister of Marion Crane, tends to bog down a little bit compared to the first half because I don't find them nearly as interesting as I did Janet Leigh. When you get to this, Julianne Moore actually holds her own against Anne Heche. I actually prefer her. But she has a lot more attitude. She has a lot more like go-get-em attitude with her version of this character. She's out there, she knows something is going on at this hotel. She knows something has gone on with her sister, and she's not gonna stop until we find out. Whereas the 1960 version of the character was much more passive in all of that, and it was kind of the team of the fiance and the sister that were going after it. Julianne Moore, She'll burn the whole damn hotel down herself to find the answers if she has to. And I kind of like that attitude, that fire in this character. And I like Julianne Moore as an actress. And the other performance that I actually quite like, even though it's a lot more classic-minded, it's a lot more trying to recreate the version of this character that was in the 1960s, whereas some of the other actors were going a little bit more modern and taking a little bit more liberties with the character. I like William H. Macy's version of Habergast.
If this girl, Marion Crane, were here, you wouldn't be hiding her, would you? No. Not even if she paid you a lot of money?
No.
Oh, well, let's just say for the sake of argument that she wanted you to gallantly protect her. You'd know you were being used. You wouldn't be made a fool of, would you?
I'm not a fool. I'm not capable of being made a fool.
I know.
Not even by a woman.
It's not a slur on your manhood. I'm sorry.
Let's just put it this way. She might have made a fool out of me, but she didn't fool my mother.
I like William H. Macy very much as an actor. Love him on Shameless. I think that his film Rudderless, if you haven't seen it, highly underrated. So I just love the dude in general as just a talent in Hollywood. You get him into this role, and he kind of fits, even though it's a more modern retelling of this story. You know, they bring it into 1998. His kind of old school detective with the fedora and everything, it doesn't feel out of place to me. I actually like it. I like his version of this character. I think that he's very charming and entertaining, and I enjoy seeing him kind of go on his little investigation in the second half of this film. That's it for positives. Now let's move into the negatives. The biggest one is the obvious one. What the fuck is the point of this movie's existence? Like, I've heard rumors out there, I don't know if this was ever confirmed, you can tell me down below, you can give me a link or whatever. I've heard rumors that Gus Van Sant has actually said that this was literally a creative experimentation, just to satisfy creativity. He wanted to see if he could recreate shot for shot a classic and see what people would think of it or something along those lines. So it's like he knew that it was pointless but wanted to do it anyway. Who the fuck knows? Maybe they just made it because they thought that, you know, it would be an easy buck recognition off of the name. That tends to be the motivation most of the time with remakes. But what is the point of a shot-for-shot remake? I don't get it. I only understand that if you're taking like a foreign language film and you're gonna do shot-for-shot and maybe Americanize it, even though I've kind of grown to like foreign film. I used to be a little bit shut off to that. I didn't like reading subtitles, but I understand there's a large portion of the movie-going audience that don't mess with foreign films. So if you have a great story, kind of like what they did with Let the Right One In, and you shot-for-shot remake it and make it into an American film, I get that to a certain extent, but just taking a classic and then just redoing the exact same thing again with a different cast, absolutely no point to that. And when you have a movie that's as classic as Psycho, and roles and casting that is iconic, like Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates, you are off your fucking rocker if you think you're even gonna come close to as brilliant of a casting and as brilliant of a performance as that was and how iconic that was. Sorry, Vince Vaughn, I love you, but you done fucked up taking that role. And while we're talking about it, as far as the acting performances, it's not that the acting itself is bad, it's more so that you're doing the same exact thing. You're saying the same exact lines, which quite a bit of them don't exactly translate into 1998 very well. Some of them feel like classic 1960s style dialogue, and it just feels awkward and clunky in a modern film like this.
Say, that's the one I'd have picked for you myself.
How much?
Go ahead, spin it around.
Oh, no, it looks fine. How much will it be with my car?
You mean you don't want the usual day and a half to think it over?
But as far as casting, we'll talk about the big one, Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. This was a time in Vince Vaughn's career where the guy was like miscast in every movie that he got for a while there. He came onto the scene with Swingers and a couple of movies like that where he was more comedy based. Then you got into movies like this where they tried to go serious. A movie that I actually kind of like, Domestic Disturbance, but it was a huge flop. You have this kind of era in Vince Vaughn's career before he really nailed it with, you know, Old School and Wedding Crashers and being that type of guy that he kind of became typecast with, and luckily now is broken out of a bit. You had that recasting, or that miscasting era, and God, if there's not a better example in his career of miscasting than this.
It's a dirty night.
Got a vacancy?
Oh, we have 12 in fact. 12 cabins, 12 vacancies.
One of the most important things and one of the most integral things about the character of Norman Bates is that he has to appear like he's no threat. Like when you look at Anthony Perkins, this guy looks, you know, he's handsome. He looks like he's very frail. He looks very friendly. He doesn't look like a physical threat whatsoever. And that's supposed to convey the side of the character that you immediately, as an audience member and as Marion Crane, go into this guy and you feel safe. You don't feel like there's anything weird going on, even with the way that he's a little quirky and even with the whole mother thing. You're like, this guy's not a threat whatsoever. Vince Vaughn does not have that. Vince Vaughn is a gigantic guy. He doesn't have that small, frail frame that Anthony Perkins had. So you automatically, you're behind the curve with that as it goes. When you have this 6'4", 6'5" guy that's towering over you, and he's acting all weird and, you know, kooky and has that Vince Vaughn laugh, that thing that he does, that's weird. That's intimidating. That makes you go, oh, I'm not staying at this fucking hotel. And he just doesn't have that creepy edge that Anthony Perkins has. He doesn't have that creepy edge that you need to have for this role. Not to say that he doesn't have that at all in his acting repertoire, because I'm sure we could see a role out of Vince Vaughn where he would probably do great. But this role, under this direction, with this dialogue, no, it does not work at all. And like I said, I don't even think it's completely Vince Vaughn's fault. I think that he does the best that he could possibly expect the guy to do with the material given and this, you know, this horrible, pointless task in front of him of trying to redo this role and even try to come close to Anthony Perkins, but gotta call a spade a spade. It's garbage. Now you move on to Anne Heche, who is the other biggest actor in role in this film. And I gotta be honest, this maybe just be my own thing. I know she's not nearly as good as Janet Leigh regardless of this, but I've just never been a fan of Anne Heche. There's like maybe one role when she guested on Nip Tuck for a couple episodes. I thought she was actually pretty damn good, but anything I've ever seen her in, I either don't like her character at all, or I just don't really care for her. There's something about it. I don't know. Maybe it's something superficial like the short hair and she just looks like a bitch. I don't know what it is, honestly. Can't put my finger on it, but I don't care for Anne Heche at all. So when you put her into this role, and this is like your focus for the first half of the film, and you're supposed to be really identifying with this girl's struggle and kind of rooting for her to a degree and really getting inside her head as a character, and even though we all know the surprise is coming, you kind of are supposed to fear for her and feel bad when she dies in the shower. You don't get any of that with Anne Heche. It just feels like an actress playing a role that we've seen brought to a classic status before, because that's exactly what it is. Then you have the whole aspect with this being in color. And you know, something about the way that this movie was shot back in 1960, that black and white enhances everything that Psycho is going for, especially the shower scene. Like, there's plenty of YouTube videos. If you don't want to watch the whole movie, just search for side-by-side Psycho comparison and watch the two shower scenes back and forth. They're literally shot exactly the same with the exception of like some weird visions and some weird imagery that goes on in the remake, which that's another thing I have to get into. But the fact that it's in black and white makes it feel more haunting, and it makes it much more effective, and the silhouette of Mother actually has this creepy, imposing presence, and that kind of enhances that mystery of who it is. When you look at it in the color version, it just feels off. The wig doesn't work, the blonde wig, the little eyes that you'll get if you pay really attention, there's like some glowing eyes, but a silhouetted face. It just doesn't feel real. That face would never be silhouette if everything else is glowing just fine. So there's just weird things about this movie being shot for shot in color that those shots don't belong in color. Now moving on to some of the things that are different about this remake, they don't add anything to the film. In fact, they take away. Like the images that I was just talking about where like you get clouds and some other weird shit that's kind of going on. I don't know if that's supposed to represent Marion Crane's thoughts when she's getting stabbed to death or whatever, but it adds nothing to the scene. It actually distracts and takes away from that scene, so sorry. Then you get a masturbation scene with Norman Bates where, you know, you have the famous scene where he takes the picture off and he looks through the peephole and sees Marion Crane undressing because he's, you know, that attraction that he has to her is what sparks Mother murdering her. Well, in this version, Vince Vaughn pulls his pants down, he beats off for about 30 seconds and then pulls his pants off and goes about his night. Again, what did that add? That didn't make him any more or less weird than he already was. It's uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't make the character any more effective. Like, he's actually more effective as the character that he was without that scene because Even though it's still a huge invasion of privacy, even though it's still grimy as hell, just him peeking through and being curious like a little boy staring out the window. Like Tommy Jarvis and, you know, Friday the 13th, the final chapter, where he's all excited to see a chick getting undressed. It's kind of the same thing that they're trying to imprint on this adult version of Anthony Perkins' version of Norman Bates, where it's like this childlike innocence because his mother keeps him, you know, just confined so much as a human being. When you have Norman Bates beaten off, that's not a, you know what I'm saying. It's no longer the childlike innocence and curiosity that makes him off-putting and creepy. It's more just the fact that he's this intrusive creep, which again, just takes away from the character. That's not how it's supposed to be. And my last negative, because to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot else to say about this. The ending, the twist, the whole reveal about Norman Bates being his mother, kinda hard to have that be effective at all when this is like pop culture, you know, common sense, I guess. Like everybody knows the twist in Psycho. Everybody knows that Norman Bates is the killer. Everybody knows that he is the one in the wig. So when that's such a commonplace in pop culture and movie fans, that's such a piece of our history that everybody knows whether you've seen Psycho or not. Once again, that just makes the shot for shot take of this pointless, because the whole build-up, the whole mystery, the whole reveal is not there. So you're literally just watching this color version with lesser versions of these characters, just waiting for the scenes that you know are coming, which takes everything out of the experience of this film. So that's why I always say, if you're gonna remake something, you have to change the shit up, especially if it's a classic, because you give us the same exact thing in a new gift wrapping, I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna say, bitch, I already got one of these.
But she's harmless. She's as harmless as one of these stuffed birds.
I am sorry. I only felt
You felt what?
It seemed that she's hurting you. I meant well.
People always mean well.
But overall, guys, like I said, this is not a remake that like just infuriates me at its existence. This is not something like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake where I'm just like, no, you fucked it up. This is just something that exists that's pointless. It's innocent enough, like basically everybody's forgotten about it at this point. You mention it and they're like, oh yeah, there's a remake to it. It is what it is. It's pointless to me. I would never recommend anybody watch this over the original. Yes, there's a couple of positive things that I could say about it, but overall, this is a movie that if it fell off the face of the earth today, the earth would be exactly the same. This movie has no purpose. So if you're a fan of Psycho, just rewatch the original. Don't bother with this one. It adds nothing. It actually takes away. Yes, there might be a couple of interesting things you get out of it if you're a fan of the 1960 version. You've seen it so many times that you want to check out a new version, but there's just not a whole lot to merit this viewing experience. So do yourself a favor and skip it altogether. So what do you guys think of the Psycho remake? Do you actually prefer the remake? I mean, maybe use an anonymous account, but let me know down in the comment section below. Did you see this in theaters? Do you think they can actually do a remake to Psycho that's not shot for shot and actually have it work? Do you like Bates Motel? Since I'm not gonna talk about the show, we could talk about it in this video. Fuck it. Let me know all of your thoughts on the Psycho remake down in the comment section below, and we will talk about it. And be sure to check out Brian Lomax's review of this remake. He might have some thoughts that are gonna shock you. This is Brian without the beard, and he's still gonna shock you. His link will be down in the comments below, or in the video description below, but also the pinned comment. So both avenues, check out the link for Brian Lomax. Give him a like, give him a subscribe, tell him Cody Leach sent you. Very good guy, very insightful. He's got a very different approach to films than I do, so you're gonna get a very different opinion from him. So check that out. Please like and share this video. Hit the subscribe button on this channel if you haven't already. I have the whole Psycho review series, so if you're a Psycho fan, subscribe and watch that shit. Video description below. Social media links, baby. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, my Patreon page, which is a great way to give back to this channel, help this channel grow, and get cool exclusive content for your eyes only if you decide to become a patron. And just below that is my Spreadshirt store, where I have all of the Cody Leach merchandise that your little heart desires. So all the designs down there, t-shirts, mugs, stickers, cinch bags, all that good stuff down in the Spreadshirt store. So check that thing out. And if you want to check out some more of my reviews, including all the previous Psycho reviews, you can check those out by clicking right over here.